having the mushrooms in my house, like that was when I was first getting started, and that was before I think heat started catching up to me. And after that, like we started enlisting the help of stash houses and stuff like that. But
Oh shit.
I mean, even then, like it was a lot of work, like traveling around the city, like, stashing drugs in houses, picking up cash, doing drug deals. Like it was a lot of work. I was missing class a lot. And it's hard to stay motivated to go to class when you're making so much money. Like I'd walk across campus with like $8,000 or $10,000 weighing down my shorts, pulling them down, and I'd be like, bro, what do I need to go to class for?
Damn, man. This is Modern Day Hippie. We are your homies who've done nearly every drug under the sun. Over 600 psychedelic trips and nearly every kind of bender you can possibly imagine have armed us with a universe of knowledge. I'm Yuki, and with my co-host Reggie, we talk about how we do drugs in a responsible, safe, and fun way to improve our lives. Before we dive in, and so we don't get sued, a quick legal disclaimer.
This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. Our goal is to educate and inform others about the realities of substance use in an engaging and entertaining format. We share these experiences so you can learn from them without trying them yourself. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to attempt to recreate anything found in this episode or in any of our other content. We are not confessing to any acts stated in this podcast. The content in this episode should not be treated as factual or real in any way.
With that, we welcome you through our portal and hope you enjoy the show.
What's up, hippies? Hope you're having a vibey day today. We got a very special guest on the pod. He goes by the name of Orange, and you might recognize him from one of our previous episodes where we invested $30,000 into our drug dealer. Introducing the drug dealer himself, six-figure trapper, Orange.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah, that's me. I guess I did that for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So you're out of the game now, right? You don't trap anymore?
Yeah, it's not really, it was kind of stressful doing it, and it's like something that I don't really want to do. Sometimes I think about it, like, man, it'd be so easy just to like sell, like flip a sheet of acid or something every once in a while. But no, it's once you get out of the game, it's hard to get back in it, especially at that level, because you lose a lot of the connections that you had. It's harder for you to get fucked over because you know a lot more and you know what the prices for things should be. But at the same time, it's like, it's just as hard to find those people, the people that, that are really doing what they say they can do. Because there's a big difference, there was even a couple times where this is really weird to me because I never really understood it. Like buying Adderall, for example, like it's pretty cheap to manufacture, like illegally. And some people nevertheless can manufacture it, like in a way, like they can make it look exactly like an Adderall pill should look like, but they don't go the extra step of actually putting methamphetamine in it, so they'll just sell you like fake drugs, which is really kind of stupid and kind of annoying because like, why quit halfway? Like it's so hard just making it look real. Why not just go ahead and do good business when everybody already knows it's not real, real fake drugs, if that makes sense. So,
Damn.
Yeah, I don't really do that, especially since I moved places. The place where I moved isn't really as drug friendly. So it's kind of, I don't know, like I was stressing a lot where I used to live. Dude, I started losing hair. I was like,
For real? I believe
dude,
that,
I mean,
man.
you guys met me when I was just starting off in college. And dude, like I swear by the second year doing it, I was fucking losing hair. I was staying up till like 2 or 3 in the morning. And every time I heard cops passing by my window, it was never for me, but I lived like on a busy street. And every time I heard them passing by, I would always be like, bro, is that for me? Like, I don't know. Cause like you really never know like when that shit's just gonna happen to you. And oftentimes it's like 4 in the morning when they do that kind of stuff. So,
Jeez, for real?
yeah, I mean,
Damn,
there's
dude.
really no telling, but
Bro, y'all had a crazy, like, honestly, the way that you like stored the drugs and stuff, like, I thought was like ridiculous because I just remember going to your apartment and you'd open up one of the kitchen cabinets and there'd be like pounds of shrooms in there.
yeah,
it didn't feel like you were hiding it super well, but I guess it worked. Like,
yeah, well, that was really early on. Yeah. It's like one of those things where you have like a certain time frame, I think, before things start catching up to you. And, that was when I don't know, things for me kind of picked up really quickly. Like I met a lot of people who have sold drugs for a long time and they never really got the prices or the customer base that I got. And I have people to thank for that. It's just like any other business where they say that business, you know, you can have like a good idea, you can have a good product, but ultimately it's always a social game, like a social thing, you know, like being successful in a business is primarily a social endeavor, is what I think. And so I think part of my success, how limited or how well it was, at least for a while, was in large part due to where I was, the city, and the people that I met in that city.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like compared to anything else, like this is the most network driven, referral heavy business that there is. Like
Yeah.
you're probably not doing any form of like outward marketing or advertising sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
purely
And
word of mouth, right?
right. So like I think in the last episode that you guys talked about me, you guys like mentioned that I got robbed. Like, yeah, I honestly I got robbed multiple times. And
Damn.
it like some of those times like they were completely avoidable. Like one time or I guess two times I got robbed by the same person. And the second time I did it kind of sort of knowing that I was going to get robbed. But like when I did that, like I also sold them, like I showed up with some really bad weed. Like seriously, it was like the worst weed I've ever had. Like, dude, like it looked like it grew out of somebody's ass, dude. It was so bad. And then they still like robbed me for it. They like tried to pull out a gun over it. It was so stupid. Like, but it was like the kind of thing that only people from Houston would try and fight about. You know, so I was just like, dude, you can have it. Like, if you really need this, like, you're gonna embarrass yourself even trying to sell it, kind of thing. But the reason I did that stuff is because, like I said, like it's hard finding like new people, and I was pretty risky with it. I mean, I think I was consistently inconsistent, but I was never outright stupid, you know. So like there were some people that I think did pretty dumb things, and I think it ended with them getting caught. And I never did those really dumb things, but I was never really consistent with trying to hide things, like having the mushrooms in my house. Like that was when I was first getting started, and that was before I think heat started catching up to me. And after that, like we started enlisting the help of stash houses and stuff like that. But
Oh shit.
I mean, even then, like it was a lot of work, like traveling around the city, like, you know, stashing drugs in houses, picking up cash, doing drug deals. Like it was a lot of work. You know, I was missing class a lot. And it's hard to stay motivated to go to class when you're making so much money. Like I'd walk across campus with like $8,000 or $10,000 weighing down my shorts, pulling them down, you know, and I'd be like, bro, what do I need to go to class for? You know?
Damn, man.
And like I wanted to go for business, and like I kind of got disillusioned with it all. And you know, this is kind of where people say like, oh, you get involved with drugs and your life goes to shit. I mean, like maybe, but also like I learned a lot. Like I learned a lot. And I'm not sure that I would necessarily change any of it, except for maybe trying a little harder in school. But even then, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the times that I got robbed, it was kind of me saying like, okay, well, in order for me to grow my business, I'm probably going to have to lose some. You know, like there's this saying that everybody says, scared money don't make money. And I always kind of thought that was stupid because other people say that the first rule of making money is don't lose money. But, you know, you kind of have to weigh those two, because if you don't lose money, I don't think you're really learning anything, you know? And so oftentimes it's like those occasional one-off bets that really make a difference in the returns that you have in anything. Right. And so I was always for trying to make those small bets, but I honestly probably bet too much on those people a little too often. I think like probably 30% of everything I made was lost ultimately just in stupid deals. And that doesn't necessarily always mean like getting robbed, but sometimes it means like getting really shitty product that won't sell, taking losses, just trying to move things. One time I think I had like 2 pounds of mushrooms just grow mold and go bad, which was really stupid, but that was a lesson learned too, because I wasn't storing them properly and they weren't correctly dried. So, I mean, it's stupid shit like that, you know, and it's hard to keep on top of everything. So yeah, yes.
Hey, hippies. We hope you're enjoying the show so far. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and are having a good time, you need to come over to YouTube and subscribe to the Modern Day Hippie YouTube channel. We publish exclusive video content, and I promise you the experience is richer and more interesting. So if you're getting any value at all, stop what you're doing, open up the YouTube app, and subscribe at Modern Day Hippie. If you're watching this on YouTube and aren't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Go press subscribe. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the show. Yeah, dude, I'm curious, like, when you talk about the people you were working with and like who you can and can't trust, are you talking about people who are supplying you, or are you talking about people who you were supplying? What were kind of the
Everybody.
different like stakeholders, I guess, that you were working with?
Yeah, it's everybody, man. Like ultimately, like I've been in handcuffs one time, and it wasn't drug related, right?
Yeah,
It
nice.
was more like a civil dispute, right? And it was the last person I ever thought that would put me in handcuffs, you know. And I didn't go to jail for it or anything. I didn't get a misdemeanor or anything, but it's the only time I've ever had the cops called on me, you know. So it's often the people closest to you that can hurt you the most,
Yeah,
and that's like amplified times 10 in drug dealing, you know. But really, it could be anything. Like sometimes I think about this one guy. I sold like a quarter pound of really overpriced mushrooms to, and I knew they were overpriced, like suspiciously overpriced, and that's what he bid on them. And you know, I was just like, okay, like if that's what you want to pay, like that's what I'll sell it to you for. I think he was paying like probably like $10 or $12 a gram for a whole quarter pound,
damn.
right?
Wow, yeah.
And so to me, I was like, yeah, like, all right, like, let's see what happens. And that's part of that taking risk part, right?
Right.
Um, and you know, I think there's one guy who did something like that, and I heard he got a whole like helicopter called on him and got into some kind of foot chase. And I don't know, but I also met that guy one time, and he was kind of sketchy and suspicious too. But anyway, so one time I got into this one guy's car, and he just starts asking me like, "Can you get these regularly?" You know, like just regular kind of questions, I guess, kind of suspicious. And he just flat out asked me like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "Dude, like, I don't know. Like, I used to bring people to my apartment and stuff, and I'd sell to them there. But that was when I was like more small time and
Yeah,
you know, flipping like ounces of weed and sometimes like grams of coke. But it was to people that like I knew that we knew some sort of that had like similar goals. You know, went to our university. They were going places. They were doing things. They just wanted to do drugs, and so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I think about this guy sometimes just because he was a little too clean, maybe his car was a little too clean, just felt a little too nice. He was a little too old, maybe looked at me a little too hard. I don't know. So obviously I didn't say anything. I just got out of the car and took the money
Okay.
he gave me, and I just blocked him. You know, and I did that a couple of times just off of feeling. So, I mean, you never really know. Sometimes like the cops, I watched this one, report with like, I guess it wasn't a report. It was like a press conference after they did this drug bust involving people that I knew. And, I remember I did like business with this guy, and he just insisted on using like electronic payment options. I thought he was so stupid for that. And sometimes he didn't give me a choice. And he was a smart kid. He was like, he was going to business school and stuff. And I liked him from the second I met him because he talked like one of those New York Wall Street traders on the stock exchange floor. Like he talked so fast, and he always, honestly, like when I first started dealing, he was like one of the first people I met, and he always finessed higher prices out of me because I would buy from him sometimes. Eventually, like I would sell to him, and we would kind of exchange things. He was a really, like, you know, he was really had the same mobile. He was really a hustler. He talked real fast and I liked it. But sometimes, he just like insisted on using electronic payment options. Sometimes like when he'd come to pick up something from me, he would just cash app, then like Zelle me the cash or something. I'd be like, dude, like don't fucking do that. Like, I don't care if you take the cash, but I'm not gonna, or take the Venmo, but I'm not gonna do that. And then I was watching the press conference talking about how they took down a whole network of people. And one of the things that gave them away, they were like, the cop was like, they were using sophisticated forms of like electronic payment method. And I'm like, dude, like, they were just being retarded. That's sophisticated forms.
Dude, I
And
think I know what press conference you're talking about.
yeah. Yeah, so it's stuff like that, right? You know, like sometimes you can be careless, I guess, randomly. As long as it's random, what? No, I'm not going to say as long as it's random. I think with stuff like that, you can afford to be a little random. Like if you get like a $300 payment every once in a while on Zelle or something, it doesn't matter. But I know for a fact that one of the times we got careless, we lost like $60,000. And
What happened?
damn.
it was just when we were trying to move product and we knew how to hide it, but we were too busy goofing off that day that before it was time to actually move it, we didn't do what we were supposed to do and we thought it was just going to be okay. And, well, it wasn't okay. I don't really want to go into too much more detail. Like some people are probably for sure still using the method and I don't know, might accidentally
Right.
stop the flow of acid to Hawaii or something. So
Yeah, fair enough. Would not want to do that to our Hawaiian homies.
yeah.
Yeah. No, dude, the way you talk about some of the different experiences you had while you're trapping. It sounds like there were almost like phases through your like time, dare I say, like career in doing this. I'm curious, kind of like, how do you in your head break down those different phases? You know, like we knew you early on when you were smaller time, and then it sounds like you had, you know, maybe 1 or 2 phases after that. I'm curious to just kind of hear like the timeline, and more importantly, like how did things change for you in each one of those different phases?
Yeah, that's a good question because I think about that often. It's because there's a lot of cognitive dissonance, you know, like my parents never raised me to sell drugs, you know, and they never raised me to even try them. Me trying them was a consequence of my best friend growing up getting into that. And then we kind of had a falling out, don't talk anymore. And I remember the first thing, he was actually the first person to ever sell me drugs. He was the first person to ever like do anything related to, I think we were like 14. It wasn't like I was old when I started trying drugs. I just never really liked them until I got into college. The first thing I did was smoke weed, I think 13 or 14, probably 13. And I didn't really like it. Weed's always kind of made me paranoid. It's okay. Like it has its moments, but probably like 2 or 3 out of every 5 times that I do it, it's just like kind of makes me autistic. So
Know what you
like
mean.
I just don't like do it too much. And then what really got me actually into selling was that I had a bunch of money in the stock market that I had saved up from growing up, and I lost it for a stupid reason. Well, one, because like I was young and I probably had too much money than an 18-year-old knew what to do with, and not enough patience, and I lost it, all of it, like a degenerate on Wall Street bets. But I think what made it more frustrating is that all of my bets did go up. Like everything I invested in, like made money for other people on my trades. I just didn't have the patience to see it through. Like AMD at $10, Nvidia at 100, just stuff like that, you know. And other ones, those are just the mainstream ones, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But and so eventually I just got really upset. I was like, dude, well, like, what's the problem here? Like, the problem is I don't actually have any control over what's going to happen. Like, unless I'm management, some kind of insider, like, I don't really know what's going to happen this week, this month, next year. And yeah, like, I could have patience with my money, but ultimately, like, that's not really what I want to do. Like, I don't run this business. It's not that interesting to me. Like, what's interesting is doing things. And like in the stock market, you can't always be doing things because then you don't have patience. And then you just, you know, you spend more, I don't know, you just don't make money, right? Like trying to time the market and stuff like that. You need patience.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
so I got into selling because I was like, all right, well, how am I going to make all this money back and then some, right? In a way that I can control. And I thought I was going to break down 100 pounds of weed at $10 a gram. I thought I was just going to be getting unlimited supply of weed for like $800 a pound. And, dude, it was just so stupid. Like, it's so unrealistic, right? But like, I had all my spreadsheets, right? Like, so it couldn't go wrong. Like, I had made all these like spreadsheets, and like, bro, I even tried to like get into like this kind of cash flow analysis and like where should I get my ROI, or where should I where can I get the best ROI for return on my investment and stuff. And well, needless to say, like once I started like actually dealing, like none of that happened, right? Like I realized that first of all, nobody's gonna give you an $800 pound of really good weed. Like that's not gonna happen. And then second of all, you're not gonna just be selling $10 grams. Like that doesn't happen either. Like if people buy a half ounce of weed, like obviously they're not going to spend $10 a gram. If it's, I mean, well, I'm not going to say obviously because it depends on the quality of the weed, you know, but for like decent weed, like it's probably not going to sell for $10 a gram. It's probably just going to sell for like 100 or 90, 80, I don't know. So whatever the dealer, I guess, is feeling. But, and I definitely was not paying $800 a pound, you know, like definitely, if anything, marijuana turned out to be the hardest thing to sell, in my opinion, just because it had like the market was so saturated. I think I mean, for some people, it had much better ROIs. And honestly, like were the people with more patience, the people that like, I think really just enjoyed smoking weed and just kind of sold it, I guess, because they themselves were connoisseurs of the product type people. They probably made the most money selling weed. And it wasn't because they were getting good prices or anything. It's just because they were consistent. And that's probably one of the most important things in selling drugs, is just being consistent, just like in any other business. I started like buying from him, and then we got into falling out over something. I actually think he's in jail right now, unfortunately. But
Oh shit.
yeah, but then I guess I started trying other stuff, right? So like I moved universities because I didn't like the one I was at anyway. And for one, the people that I met at the new university, like you guys, I really liked you guys. Like my roommates and the entire community, like it just felt like people were doing things, you know, like At my other university, like it was more of a community school. I'd show up and there would be people playing Minecraft on their fucking laptops in class. And I'm like, bro, like I know that nobody necessarily wants to be here, but at the same time, bro, like why are you here? like
Literally, yeah.
like I don't know, like it was just kind of frustrating. And then people would just get out of class and go home. Yeah, I didn't really like that. But when I moved over there, it felt like people were doing things, right? And then I started kind of experimenting outside of just weed. Like I started trying psychedelics. I think the first thing I tried right after marijuana was LSD. And dude, that was like, I say it was life changing in the best way possible, but at the same time, I don't know still. You guys asked me, how do I think about the life changes, like the progression of me selling? And I'm not sure, how I feel about it still. Cause on the one hand, I was on a pretty good path before I started selling. Right. Like I had pretty good jobs and stuff, good internships, I guess. I had upward growth, upward momentum. And then I don't want to say selling and drugs kind of derailed that, but it kind of seemed like everything else after that was less important to me. Or maybe not less important. No, definitely less important. It just seemed like it felt like my eyes had been opened up to a different part of this world that I did not know existed. And I loved that. Like I loved it. And so going into it, like it definitely started as me just trying to pay for my college. And I think that's the story that I wanted to believe. I wanted to believe that I was just going to go to college and I was going to get a good job after I graduated. And I found like good, decent company with a girl. And, for a while, it felt like my life was pretty solid. Right. But after a while, I don't know. I guess it just felt like things were kind of missing. Like I felt like going to school, I was missing the point. Like I felt like I was learning more, selling drugs and doing other things, art history class, just taking my undergraduate studies classes, and I still got like a pretty good internship that first year somewhere, but like even then I was working in that office and I fucking hated it. Like, dude, like it was so stupid. Like I remember going to the office and then actually on my lunch break, I remember going to sell like an ounce of coke to somebody. And then, like obviously my mind was thinking about how I was going to make $1,000 sale during lunch. And then how was I going to get back to the office in time? And so I don't know, it kind of progressed to like from, oh, I'm going to be like this excellent cog in the machine and I'm going to, I don't know, make a lot of money and live a happy life that way. It's like, what am I doing with my life? Like, it's like, cause I like the people that I was associating with, not necessarily because they were good people, but because sometimes they were smart and especially because they were different. Like a lot of them just didn't have any inhibitions, and that's, a lot of people don't think that's good. And I don't necessarily think that's good, but it kind of like introduced me to a side of life that I think a lot of people don't really see. And it's very primitive sometimes, right? And so I guess like all things, like when you start taking an interest in something, it just kind of grows and grows from there. Like you start learning more about how things work, why they work that way, and then you start trying to do better. And it's one of those areas where you very clearly can do better, right? Like there's always a way to get ahead of somebody else, always a way to grow your business, and it's not always bad. Like sometimes sometimes I think I genuinely felt like I'd rather be selling people drugs than anybody else that I had met. I still think about that though. It's something that I would like to make a career, but I'm not just going to go back to selling illegal drugs and stuff. There's some things that even I wouldn't mess with, right? Like Xanax, like that's a stupid drug. I wouldn't sell that. Fentanyl, I like fentanyl, but I wouldn't sell it either because that's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And I see all these like signs that kind of make me mad. Like I've known a couple of people that have died from fentanyl, and I saw this sign on the highway the other day that says "fentanyl kills," like, big red letters.
I think I saw the same one, dude.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, like, I mean, so do guns. Like guns were literally constructed with the purpose of killing, right? People say self-defense, but like I think probably the first few guns were made for hunting, and then probably defending, which in both terms probably involve killing people or seriously injuring. And I don't think people that do fentanyl like have that intention. For the most part, a lot of the overdose cases that I've seen and heard and read about, usually they involve unknowing people. And like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like people that one, either they don't know it's fentanyl or they know it's fentanyl and they don't know how to manage it. Like the first time I did fentanyl, dude, like I'm a pretty heavy drug user, but dude, like the first time I did fentanyl, I did an eighth of a pill and I was throwing up in a booth in like the city's equivalent of an IHOP. which the city doesn't really have IHOPs that I've seen. But dude, like me and my friend are fucking throwing up in a booth, bro. Like we were just not okay, just from like a little ape of a pill. And so like me trying to imagine like somebody taking a whole pill without knowing what's in it, like yeah, they're gonna fucking die, dude. It's like like it's not safe for these people. And I don't even want to say it's necessarily the drug dealer's fault. You know, it's like yeah, like maybe the drug dealer should have told them like how to consume it. But at the same time, like the people that are buying these pills, I'd say 95% of them are regular users and they know how to use them, right? And they're accustomed, and it's what they want more than anything. It's what they want. They want to buy the strongest thing that gives them the best bang for the buck. I've known a couple of people that died from it, and I don't want to say that like it's good to have this addiction, but I also think about it from like the perspective of what does it mean to have an addiction, right? And so like what do I think that means? I think like Narcotics Anonymous defines it as an addiction is the slow, like the gradual removal of things that make you happy and focusing on just one thing. And I think that's pretty accurate, right? And so like when I see some of these people with addictions, I'm like why? You know, like I think it's like I've definitely been on like a week or 2 week long bender of just like doing fentanyl like every fucking day. And it's bad, dude. Like it's like even after like a week or 2 weeks, like once you stop doing it, you get the like absolute worst depression, worst depressive symptoms like you could imagine. And I've been there before, but this is like so much worse. And so I wonder like why aren't I addicted already? You know? And so like I look at these people that are already addicted, and I think sometimes it's just like a matter of they got dealt a shitty hand in life, right? And this is one of their only consistent sources of happiness. And I can't really blame them for it. Like, sometimes I don't think that if they died tomorrow, they would care, you know, and I don't know who to blame about that. Like, I don't know what to do about that because what am I going to do? Like, I can't give them a house to live, a place to live in, you know, like I can't feed them, give them comfort and stuff. So like, if this is like the only thing they can do, then fuck, just let them do it. I don't know. It's a slippery slope. It brings up some very, questionable ethics, I think, on my behalf. But yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's so fucking real. Like, damn.
Yeah, man, I'm speechless, honestly.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Here, Reggie, what other questions you got?
Orange, I was wondering how dangerous it kind of got sometimes. I know that you've had like guns pulled on you and stuff, but man, I know you had like a business partner, and your business partner was posting some ridiculous fucking shit on social media, like on
Dude.
Snapchat and stuff. Like, dude,
Oh
tell
my
us more
God.
about that, man.
The arsenal this man had.
Yeah, dude, this guy had a live grenade. No, I guess it's not live until you pull the pin, but he had a grenade from like the 80s. He would like sleep with it under his bed.
What the?
What the fuck? Why would you do that?
Because where else are you going to put it?
Oh my God.
That's fair. Wow.
Like, you can put it in the closet and it's not going to make a difference, I'm sure. Yeah, dude, he's one of the smartest people I've ever met. And he's also probably a sociopath. But, you know, he's like one of those people that he has his own weird kind of code of ethics. And, I guess you try and understand it. For the most part, you usually do. I think you guys met him. Like,
Yeah.
did y'all ever get the idea that he was necessarily a complete degenerate and just
Dude,
like,
I've just seen him switch up like in a matter of seconds. Like when
yeah, me
his
too.
real personality comes out, like it's so distinct from like his persona, you know?
Yeah, me too. I mean, just playing Snowopoly that one time with you guys, there's this one time where he just wiped us all out because he was like forming all these, like all these, I don't know, agreements with us. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, dude,
Yeah,
definitely.
he just switched up on all of us. Yeah, he has moments like that, which definitely scare you. But he's always kind of been straight with me, you know, in times where he really could have fucked me over. And he never did that I'm aware of. And if he did, like, shit, you know. But at the same time, like, the very fact that it's in question to me makes me not really want to associate with him. At least right now. Maybe in the future. Give it some time.
Yeah. I think he has a good heart deep down, man. Cause I know like when you fell off the grid for a little bit, like he he like reached out to me, like saying if I knew what was going on with you and stuff. Like he cared, you know. But
Yeah.
once again, it's like that persona is so
I guess I
like
can describe it this way. Like one time, like he always has a bunch of dudes for some reason that just look up to him, and it's so weird. Like if you see it, you know what I mean. It's like
yeah,
Jesus walking down the earth, and there's literally like a gang of dudes willing to do things for him. And I don't know why. And when I say like do things for him, I mean they'll let him borrow his car, they'll rob people for him, they'll just do things for him. Like when we were selling, he would make Xandies, which is like Xanax gummies, and he would just have Goon Squad. That's what he called them, Goon Squad. And he would have Goon Squad fucking like um taking the syringes and filling the candies up. And his line of thinking was like, I know they're retarded, but like, don't you feel obligated that like if you know that the decisions you make for them are better than the decisions they make for themselves, don't you feel like obligated to make decisions for them? I'm like, what?
damn, bro.
Damn, dude.
That's some complex ego
I,
shit.
I don't know
even
about that
know.
one too. That's
Yeah, I know, dude. It's so fucked. But I mean, the fact that he could get away with saying things like that to me is just insane. I don't know. What does that show? I have no idea. But he's fucking smart. But it's like he would get things done that I would not have known how to do otherwise. Like I mean, he was pretty much the guy that introduced me into like how to lay acid, like where to get like powder acid from, how to like what are some of the other things? I don't know. He would like make his own beer, his own wine. I think we tried making Molly once, but we did not want to do that. But
dude. He was a true drug renaissance man.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Man,
No,
I think it was similar for him though. I think for him it was mostly just I have the opportunity because, like I said, for some reason people just like looked up to him for some fucking reason. I have no idea. So like people just came to him with good prices, good deals. He honestly moved a lot more weight than I did, like a lot more weight. But I sold things for higher prices, and so it kind of evened out. So he was kind of always the one that was able to get things. Honestly, he was my plug. He was the guy that put me on. So that's kind of how that worked out. Can't really
damn, I
complain
feel
about.
like what you said about like doing something just because he had the opportunity to, like, I feel like that's probably what he felt like about like the fucking RPG and the Uzi and shit like that he had. Like, bro, you don't need a fucking rocket launcher. Like, you don't need a fucking machine gun. Like,
Yeah, he did it, but he's like chaotic neutral, right?
right.
He's like, he's kind of the dude that says why the fuck not? And if unless there's a good reason why not, then he's gonna do it. But it has to be his own reason. So fucking God forbid that it's even in question.
yeah.
Where was I going with this? What did you guys ask for?
Yeah. It kind of, I think it was more like, I guess dangerous or situations you
Oh
were in
yeah,
that
yeah.
were like
He
tough
was
spots.
definitely had a lot shorter fuse. There was one time he told me he got robbed by some bloods, and he got like robbed for like 2 sheets of acid. And sometimes people like you never know who you're gonna meet, and so these people like they just pulled up gunpoint and they're like, "Give me the fucking drugs," and he wasn't having it, and he just like took the gun, I guess, and tried to turn it around, and they shot out their own windshield, back rear window, and ran off with the drugs. I think he like kept something. I remember. I mean, he's a lot more willing to be aggressive and do things like that. That I just never really found a point in. But to be fair, he also got robbed a lot less than I did, so I guess that also says something.
Man, yeah,
Uh,
you had a fight response at one point, I remember.
yeah, there was one time. It was that time that we were selling like the really bad quarter-pound weed, and dude, I remember I pulled up with my friend because I kind of knew like there was a high chance it was the same people that robbed me the first time. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pull up with my friend because he has a stake in this deal too. Because it's not even my product. Like if he wants to sell it, because he had been trying to get rid of it for a long time. And so I was like, dude, if you want to try and sell it, like let's try and sell it to these people like anybody else because we don't even want it. And so we pulled up and we were just like in the stairwell. And we showed them the weed, and dude, I'm not kidding. It was so bad that they even looked at it and they were like, "Bro, do we really want to do this?" Like, I saw the notification, It was so fucking bad. They were like, they like looked at each other, and then one of them was like, "Yo, no cap, man, I got a fucking gun in his bag. Give us the fucking weed." And then my friend is like also kind of ghetto, and he also had a gun on him too, but I didn't know it. But in retrospect, he obviously had a gun on him, and because he's kind of stupid too. I'm not gonna lie. Like he would do Xanax and all that stuff. He was kind of Bartard. Never understood like Xanax as like the go-to drug, but that was his go-to drug. And he was all like, they were both like, "We're not from around here." Like they were like, "We're not from around here. We're from, I don't know. Let me make up a city. I guess we're from Miami or whatever the fuck." And then he was like, "I'm not from around here either. I'm also from Miami." And they were like, "No, no cap, man. We're from Miami." And he was also like, "Yeah, man, I'm from Miami, bro. I'm not kidding. Like they literally said I'm from Miami like 10 times." And I was like, it's like, I was like, this is stupid. And then I'm like, and then I remember they said like, "Well, what are y'all gonna do, huh?" And like the door was literally right behind me, but and so I'm like, "Dude, well, we're just gonna walk out." So like, I just walked out of the stairwell. But the problem was we were like on the 13th floor, right? And by the time like I called the elevator, but by the time the elevator got there, like my friend was already in a full out fist fight with this dude.
Oh my god.
And the biggest dude, fucking like, dude, he must have been like 6'5" or something. And I was like, "Dude, this isn't worth it." So I just like gave him my shit. Because the elevator took for fucking ever. I don't know. Maybe in retrospect, I definitely shouldn't have let them block the stair exit. But yeah, it's just stupid, man. Like I always had a theory that people with guns get shot, and I think that's probably true for the most part, right? Like I just never had the need to have a gun or anything.
Yeah, nice. That's good. I feel like from what I knew about the way you did business, it was pretty like cautious, I'd say, and definitely your friend who we're talking about, definitely like more fiery kind of personality. Like I could see him getting into trouble for sure, but it always seemed like you
Yeah,
had a pretty cool head about you, and like
yeah. One
kind
one
of
of
like
the things that does make me mad is that even though he made me so much money, he's also probably the reason that I lost all of it. It's kind of
That
annoying.
makes sense.
as in like all the money that you made from dealing, like period.
Basically.
Damn, man.
It's also kind of my fault for just like getting in over my head in a deal that I didn't really want to be a part of anyway, just because I didn't really have demand at that time for it. And I agreed to like give him money on credit, right? Just to like
Mm.
so that he could re up and get a better price. And I was there, so like I know everything that happened. I don't think he fucked me over because I saw him lose just as much and kind of struggle to go through it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. You're at the club and the music is thumping, but you've got nothing left in the tank. So what do? Sniff some cacao. Yup, you heard that right. Sniff some cacao. It's the hottest new trend in the club and party scene. One bum-sized sniff of raw chocolatey powder contains the caffeine equivalent to a half cup of coffee, and boom, it hits instantly. And the best part is you can now sniff cacao anytime, anywhere. Right out in the open, in front of the DJ booth or the stage, even at the VIP table with your friends. Now, how does that happen without drawing unwanted attention? Snowgo's spring-loaded bump straws make it possible. These classy, triple mirror polished bump straws are the safest, most discreet way to enjoy sniffing cacao. In fact, you've most likely already seen people wearing Snowgo's bump straws as pendants around their necks without even knowing it. Discover why sniffing cacao using Snowgo bump straws is being called the biggest revolution in partying since the invention of rock and roll. Jump on over to snowgostraws.com to learn more. That's SNOGOSTRAWS.com and use discount code MDH15 at checkout for 15% off your entire order. I'm curious, like at your like peak of selling drugs, like what was a day in the life like? Maybe not even so much like what you were doing, but like what were the big things you were thinking about, like, you know, or like the main like products you were selling, like what were maybe like stresses, whether it's like law enforcement or finding supply or demand. I'm just kind of curious, like what was going through your head when you're like kind of at the
It's
peak of this
always
journey.
Yeah, it's always about trying to get supply and demand and trying to get to where you need to be when you need to be there. Like I remember I had two phones and for some reason one would always be out of battery and the only one I'd have would be like my trap phone and for some reason like that shit like would not take calls sometimes. And so I remember my girlfriend being so pissed off at me. Like, she'd try and call me over and over again. And she'd be like, where are you at? Like, I tried to call you. Like, I needed you for something. Like, and like, she'd be like, I needed you for this. And I'd be like, fuck, you forgot. Like, I'm sorry. You know, but like, how sorry are you when you just made like $2,000, right? So it's like, um, yeah, I don't know. I was kind of degenerate for a bit. It kind of seems like I wasn't really thinking too much about long-term things. I was just mostly thinking about like, what's the next objective? Like, what do I need to do to get this done? So like, it was always a matter of like trying to balance re-ups. Like, are you going to have enough money to buy that Molly? Are you going to have enough money to re-up on Adderall? Are you going to have enough money to re-up on acid? Right? Because every time you re-up, it was pretty much like an unspoken rule that you need to re-up a bigger amount. Right? Like, you gotta have like, you can't just like stall, you know, like you can't have like that backwards momentum. You got to get better prices because otherwise it's like, what are you doing? And so it was always about like trying to balance those re-ups. And at first I was like, you know, I said like I wanted to break everything down, get $10 a gram for weed. And that was super unrealistic. And it turns out that that's not what I wanted to do at all because the return on investment for weed just wasn't there. But it was a lot higher for LSD, shrooms, ketamine, Molly, psychedelics in general. I love selling psychedelics mostly because I love psychedelics, right? Like that's what made me like so passionate about drugs in the first place. It's like psychedelics. Like that first time I did acid, like I literally felt like the world was breathing in like a good way. Like I thought it was like breathing with me. Like I would see lights pulse and stuff, and you know I felt more connected to the universe, I guess, than I ever felt in my life.
Yeah, I mean, definitely agree with you on that one. Psychedelics,
Yeah,
I think, were all three of our entries into.
if you can't tell.
This world. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so most of it was really definitely stressing about where's the supply going to come from and then who am I going to sell it to. So I was always looking for new customers and I was always looking for better prices, right? And so trying to balance that with class, like forget about it. It's like, how are you going to take a trip to New York or Oregon or wherever you need to go to get your Rio and then like make it back in time for finals or something? Like, it's just like, it doesn't, you know, some people would have that priority, like, no, school takes priority. But honestly, like never in my life have I ever really cared about school. And so like to me, it just wasn't even a question. Like, what am I going to do? Like, obviously, well, I'm going to go out and meet this new plug and see if I can buy something from him. And that's what we would do. Our lives would pretty much orient around trying to get things done and trying to find people that can do the things that they can say they do, which is like really hard. And also, how do we, I guess, do better? You know, like how do we become more efficient, make more money with less time type thing? Like we would experiment with making carts. Sometimes people are like, damn, like you guys are really filling carts yourself and stuff like that. But bro, like honestly, like I knew what I put in that shit, right? Like our carts were some of the best shit in our city. Like, dude, it was like, I honestly had very little moral qualms about a lot of the things that I did because I knew that when I was doing them, I would do my own shit. I would do my own drugs. I'm not going to put a bunch of vitamin E into these cards and then vape them myself. I'm not going to do that because I know I always use my own product.
Dude, that's why we love buying from you, man.
Yeah. Plus, like, it's just so much. I never understood the people that rob people for that exact reason. Like, once you have a good thing going, why fuck it up? You know, like, why not just sell the product, make your money, and just, you know, keep what you earn? You know, like, why try to make that extra little bit of money for that short-term gratification? Like, it's so much better to just do good business, you know, have people rely on you to do the right thing and then be consistent and keep busy with good work. Honestly, that's like the main thing that's been going through my mind these days. How do I find something that keeps me busy and I feel like I'm actually doing good work, right? Like stimulating, learning, improving on things. And that's one of the reasons why I like the drug industry so much is because it's one of those untapped markets. It's like an inefficient market that you just like, you know, it's there and you know everything about it, right? And then like, what do you do about it? I don't know. That's something I'm trying to figure out now. One of the main things that we would do, for example, after we pick up acid is we would have to lay it because I don't know if a lot of you guys are familiar with like the pure form of LSD, which is not like a liquid. It's not just a paper tab or a gel. It's like a powder. It's like a really white, fluffy powder. And it's kind of interesting because if you take a spoon, a gram of it will fill up about a teaspoon of space. And that's like $10,000 worth of acid right there.
Wow.
Right.
Damn.
Tried it. It's a lot of, like, it's crazy. And one of my friends, bro, I'd see him take a thumbprint of acid whenever we'd re-up, and that was like his way of testing it. It was his plug, so I'm not like, I wasn't going to tell him like not do that because apparently he'd done it before. And
Wait, how much did he take?
a fucking thumbprint, dude. Like I saw him dip his finger in it and lick it.
Holy shit.
So there's like a few hundred tabs at least. Like I fucking saw it with my own eyes, dude. Like
That's
and he was
nuts,
okay,
bro.
dude. He was functional. He was tweaking, not even for like a full day, I think. So, but yeah, that dude's like fried. Like I think
Perma-fried, bro.
yeah, I think he was the guy that.
Oh, did you lose him too?
I think we lost him, yeah. Man, that was getting good.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, go for it. Orange.
Yeah, sorry about that. So, yeah, he was actually the guy who first taught my partner how to lay acid. And apparently, like when he did it, the way you do it, maybe I shouldn't go into specifics, but like the way you do it is you get like a syringe, right? And with the LSD solution, and you kind of, there's some math that goes behind it. It's like really simple math. You have to calculate the rate of absorption for the paper and stuff. And you have to get like a certain type of paper. And, it's like a certain type of solution, obviously, you know, to like proportion out the LSD with solution so that it absorbs into paper and whatnot. But obviously, like this dude is like a tweaker, like a, you know, fucking hippie tweaker, hippie dippy tweaker. Like he wasn't going to do any of that. So what he did, he just got like a syringe filled up with like some basic solution and he was just like squirting it around on the paper. And he was like, fuck this one in particular. And he's fucking extra dope. Like, fuck this is on it. And, but yeah, later on, we like went back and did the math, cleaned it up a little bit so that there's
Nice.
actually like some form of like equally dosed dosages. And I remember, dude, like one time, bro, like where we had a fucking gram of like powdered acid in a bag, the container that we had it in, and we were about to pour it into the solution, and both of us, we were both like hovering around it, like looking super closely at like this thing that was about to unfold and like what was going to happen, right? And we're just like peering down like the container, like real close to it. And we pour out the solution and then poof, like a big mushroom cloud of the shit goes back in our face.
Damn.
So we fucking instantly, we like cleared the room so fast, dude. Like it was so visible. They were like, dude, we were prepared to start tripping dick and, well, it didn't fucking happen, thank God. But, yeah, like, it's stupid. Like there's small things like that it's very rewarding because there's small objectives like that you just achieve one after the other, you know. It's like a very constant flow of having to do things. It's very satisfying in that regard. It's hard
Right.
it's hard to find. This is like one of the things that I think drug dealing has really ruined me for. And it's not like, I don't know, maybe it's not like what people would think a normal drug dealer's life would be ruined by. It's just what's really ruined me is it's ruined me for jobs because it's so hard to find a satisfying job that is just as rewarding, not just financially, but I mean like fucking spiritually, like bro, like just in every aspect of the form, just intellectually, spiritually, like socially, like because you meet so many new people too, and it's like some of them are degenerates, some of them are really smart, some of them are just living on the fringe of society, and you probably would have never ever met them in your
Right.
normal day-to-day life. But then like you pull up and everybody's just kind of being a degenerate together, and you kind of lose a sense of what society is doing. You know, like sometimes you're like, bro, like why do we need money? Like what the fuck is this about? And like it's not like, oh, like money is useless kind of thing. It's more like I feel like we've abstracted the idea of money so much that it's like it's lost its attachment to value, like what it actually means to have value. Like I think I asked my grandmother the other day how long it took them to build their house that she lived in growing up. She told me 6 months, dude. Like 6 months. I think like the average house now costs $480,000, and the average household, not the average earner, the average household makes like 60, right? And so to me, I'm like, bro, like it's stuff like that. Like, what does it mean to have value? Like, value is how much somebody's willing to pay for it. That's what we would say, right? Value is how much is somebody willing to pay for it, but not necessarily, you know, like value is also like, it can be anything. It could be like, how much did you work for it? How long, you know, like what is its actual value to you as a shelter for yourself, for your family, for anything. And so sometimes I'm like, bro, like, why don't we all just help each other out and like fucking build each other houses? You know, like if it takes us a year or 6 months, like it's still faster than paying a mortgage for 30 years, 20 years.
Damn, you should go to Burning Man, bro.
Right. But this is all like ideological bullshit, I guess, that people are like, go to school, get a job, you know. But it's just, you know, it's really hard to want to after, you know, doing all of that, because it's just like now I go to work and I actually take some classes for random shit that I want to learn. And dude, sometimes I'll be stuck in like rush hour traffic for 40 minutes. I'm like, dude, this is fucking bullshit, bro. Like, why am I, why does my work day not just consist of having to be at work, but also an extra hour or two of commute? Plus, like,
Yeah.
having to get ready and shit in the morning, which some people are like, bro, that's basic hygiene. And I'm like, I understand, but the second I have to allocate mental effort to your need, that's work. That's not like me time anymore. Like that's work. Like the second I have to revolve my thoughts and my day around you, like that's work, bro. Like
Yeah.
and
100%.
and so I'm like, sometimes I think that people miss what is it like? They miss the forest for the trees. I think that's the saying.
Mm-hmm.
They miss
Yeah.
the forest for the trees, and they're like, man, I got to get a job. I got to make money, or I got to get a job to make money. But then they forget, I think that, like, I feel like the whole point of working is to do things you like with the people that you like. And people just fucking don't do that. And that's insane to me. Like, how can you go do something you don't like with people you don't like every day for the rest of your life just because, I don't know, I guess you want to make money? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me because then work takes up so much of your life and then they make this money and then they go spend it on like $20 beers at baseball games. And that to me is just ridiculous. Like, I'm not gonna, like, that's so stupid to me. Like, in my opinion, like, that's not worth the work. That's not worth the effort of having a job. And so to me, like, it's kind of ruined me in that sense where I'm just like not satisfied with the typical job. And I guess a lot of people aren't, but I guess me more so, I am less willing to put up with things, right? And, you can say that's good and bad, but I don't know. I think most people from the outside looking in would say it's bad, but I guess time will tell.
Yeah. I mean, I think it definitely makes you less of a like cog in the machine like society wants you to be. But it's really cool to hear the experience and the learnings that you've taken from your time selling drugs. Cause like, first off, I can definitely see how that is a very rewarding thing to do, like for the reasons you mentioned. And it's very like you're working with people, you get to do things with your hands, like laying the acid and stuff like that. These are all like small things that I think add up to what, aside from it, technically being illegal to sell drugs, like makes for, I would say, a pretty like engaging and interesting and satisfying job.
Yeah.
Dude,
So,
you even
And
get to
it's,
travel.
yeah, that's one of the other things that makes it, I guess, satisfying, rewarding. It's also, I'm not gonna lie, like it's 100%. There's also some ego involved in it, 10,000%. Like
yeah.
at one point, like we did the math, and like I think we were supplying like a quarter of the LSD for our state, and like that's a
Damn.
considerable just for like a month, like a
Yeah.
month's worth, right? Like a quarter of the month's supply for our state. But like even if we did that once every 3 months, like that's a fuck ton of acid, bro. Like, and so you start to like think about things like that, and you're like, bro, like not a lot of people have ever really gone in to see that much, like to move that amount of weight or see that much product. And it's also kind of interesting, because obviously, like if we were moving like a quarter of the amount of the state's supply of cocaine, bro, like the feds would be knocking on our doors. Like, I probably would not be here right now for sure. I'd probably be dead or in jail. But LSD is not really like that. I don't know. Like, you don't really hear a lot of big busts happening for acid,
Yeah.
which, like, kind of makes you wonder, like, why? Yeah, I'm not going to say it doesn't happen, but it's just, like, they definitely care less, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's fair. Well, cool. We do have to get wrapping up here, but is there anything you would like to leave our audience with before we sign off?
I don't know. I'd like to say that maybe it'd be nice if, I don't know, something I think about a lot. This is just like off the top of my head because it's like one of the frustrating things that I see happening a lot. Like, I don't know, like, I think about like, what does it take for things to change? Like, I think in like Hong Kong, what percentage of the people protested a few years ago, right? I think it was like over 25% of the people, and like, what changed? Nothing really. Some studies say that you only need like 2 or 3% of the population to start doing things to see material changes. But then other studies will say that the average voter's opinion doesn't count for shit. Like lobbying interests and all that stuff make the decisions, and everything that the consumer wants and supports is only voted into action if the other interests consequently or coincidentally also support that thing. Right. And so, I don't know, something I guess I just like to see is more people willing to do things differently. Right. So I guess I say do more drugs is a good start, but just like,
Cheers
I
to that.
wish, yeah, I just wish people would be willing to step out of their bubble more and just be, I don't know, do things differently. Maybe paint their sidewalk or something. Just would be nice.
Yeah. No, I think that's really beautiful. Just finding small, unique ways to just be different, like not try to fit in, not just be a cog in the machine. Just like do things that can bring you small
Yeah,
amounts of
just
joy, and yeah,
yeah, literally just be less complacent.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
Yeah. That's what it means to be a modern day hippie.
Straight up, man. Straight up. Well, thank you, Orange, so much for coming on the pod. I think everyone in the audience learned a lot. I know I had a blast, dude. Would
Yeah,
love
thanks
to.
for having me.
Yeah, dude. Of course. I'm sure we'll have you on a future episode, man.
Yeah, I hope look forward to it. By the way, I'm honestly like really psyched that you guys started the podcast because it's fucking hilarious listening to you guys talk. And I think like the first podcast, the first episode you guys had, I heard some of those stories and I was like, holy shit, I was there for that.
Hell yeah, dude.
I was like, I
That's
remember
awesome,
that.
man.
Like it's just funny. Like it's kind of trippy in a way.
Yeah,
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
No, it's cool. It's cool. We're keeping at it. Yeah. All right, man. That's today's pod. You've been listening to Modern Day Hippie. As you exit the portal, we have just one small ask of you. If you learned something new today, had a laugh, or resurfaced a drug story of your own, we want to hear about it. Drop us a comment on YouTube and show us some love on your favorite podcasting platforms. Internet algorithms really dog on us because of the topics that we discuss, so your support goes even further here than you might think. We'll catch you next week.